Hello, Leo. Horoscope, month of July 2020. The moon is full in responsible Capricorn on July 4th, and the corresponding lunar eclipse is an indication not to schedule things too far in advance right now. This is a time when endings are inevitable, and there's no telling where you'll be a month from now. It's best to accept the things you can't change and hold steady despite your desire to move ahead. There's a lot of potential for healing during the Chiron retrograde period starting on the 11th of July, especially if you're willing to dig deep and unearth some painful memories. It's inevitable that you'll have to rehash some things that aren't very pleasant, but coming out stronger is a price you're willing to pay. There's a new moon in nurturing Cancer on July 20th, putting you in the mood to make your loved ones feel safe and protected. Your strong urge to nurture and care for others makes you an excellent parent and/or friend. The sun finally enters your dramatic sign on the 22nd, and you're so happy to let your true personality shine for the upcoming month. Your warmth and friendliness are two of your better qualities, and you make almost everyone you come into contact with feel loved and appreciated. Cosmic, spiritual, intellectual, physical, social, and emotional self aspects of Leo in July of 2020. Eight of Cups for spiritual self. Seven of Cups for intellectual self. King of Pentacles for physical self. Ace of Pentacles for social self. Prince of Pentacles for emotional self. With the Eight of Cups here, this is contemplation, possibly contemplating your life path and where you are on that life path. And it's not like you're not satisfied. Maybe it's just wondering about the true desires you have and if they're aligned with your spiritual path, or if they're not, and why they may be or may not be, and just trying to understand a little bit more about your spiritual self on in correlation with your emotions and your intellect, since they tie together. With the Seven of Cups here in your intellectual, you'll see, if you can see that there's two lovers up here and a guy down here, possibly dealing with the agony of, like, everywhere you look you see people in love and you're not with somebody, or if you are with somebody, it's not, possibly not satisfying you, or isn't what you were thinking or hoping for, or it just could be your own self not feeling adequate to what you should be or what you could be with relationships and everything that has to do with who you are. There's a cup here filled with worms. There's a cup here with a rose. There's a cup here with a crown. There's cups here that are empty. Cups here that have magic in them, all kinds of stuff. So it's also possibly dealing with delusions of grandeur on what you're thinking, intellectual, thinking about all this stuff, but maybe it's not, everything's not as it seems, or isn't as you thought they would be. So there's much to contemplate. With the King of Pentacles here, this has to do with being a stable person in finances. With it being in the physical, this is probably has more to do with how you look and keeping that look a certain way. You look good, you know how to make sure you look good, and how to keep your value of your appearance up. You are a king in your appearance and keeping that up. With the Ace of Pentacles in your soul, so it represents attainment, prosperity, abundance, beginnings of stability and worth, self-worth, it's in the social. So it's like you don't want anyone in your life who doesn't bring value to the kingdom you're in, or your empire, or whatever it is that you consider your life, aspects of yourself and your worldly views. You value the worth of your social aspects. So you're keen on making sure people bring in value to your situation. Prince of Pentacles in your emotional self, he represents the well-dressed young man with the Taurus up here. He's got a bull up there. So he values materialistic aspects of himself. He likes to make sure. So this being in your emotional, you're emotionally concerned about making sure that your values and what you are worth are of the utmost importance, and coincide with all the other cards that I'm talking about here. You're just that's what you're not here to give anyone a chance that isn't up to your level. So you've got this royalty mindset, which is okay. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that. It's just that you don't want to get overextended in this, potential for arrogance and the mindset or spiritual and all this other self-reflex I'm trying to talk about. That this is all about being humble as well, So keep your self looking good and having the values and worth high, but also be a little humble in that. Universal fantasy, spiritual, intellectual, physical, social, emotional self aspects for Leo in July of 2020. Spiritual self is the world. Intellectual self is Four of Cups. Physical self is Page of Cups. Social self is Strength. Emotional self is the Star. The world here in this deck represents understanding that filling the void in who you are with material things does not acquire inner peace. So think of Kung Fu Panda, the second one. Inner peace is what you're obtaining and feeling wild, free, and naked here. There's this giant looks down on the world, but it has no hard feelings or is not going to harm anyone with its giant inner peace. It's just feeling good, but it's on top of the Eight of Cups. So I think that's the issue, is that you don't realize that you're actually filling a void inside of you with material things, and that this message here is saying that that's not going to work for your inner peace. You got to look at deeper into how to achieve your inner peace. Four of Cups here from this deck is letting you know that the answers you seek most are inside your heart. The wood spirit is holding a cup, and he's not looking at it. He's like, hey, look, the spirit's like, look over here. There's this heart up here, this cup of emotions that I'm trying to show you. And this dude's like, my heart hurts. And, I've got cups. See these cups down here? But she's trying to point something else out to him. And then it's on top of the Seven of Cups there with feeling, this is all intellectual, so your thoughts about that void from the spiritual aspect to inner peace. It's a little bit confusing with all these things going around. And, up here, this couple here looks all happy, and you're like, no, I'm not feeling so great. So it's like, you got to do inner work understand your heart and let go of what you thought your heart really valued. And not necessarily like throw it all away, just don't focus so much on it, and maybe focus on a different aspect of how your heart needs something. So you need to figure that out. Page of Cups has to do with ideal aspects of yourself or sentiments. Um, be careful of what you appear as what its strength is, for you may be missing something, or other ways of strength appearing, or the appearance of strength. And with the King of Pentacles here, this is all in your physical, so it's kind of like you're the king if you're keeping looking yourself and looking good, wearing the nice clothes, but maybe, you know, looking at others and how they dress and how they appear isn't necessarily strength, and maybe covering up something. The strength here is taming the beast, overcoming arrogance and tyranny with love and passion, but not ignorance. Just, oh, I love you, and then you get taken advantage of. And then this is in the social aspect, and the Ace of Pentacles was valuing those who bring worth to you. And then strength is taming the beast. This is your social aspects of yourself, so taming the beast of that perception, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but don't ignore potential of others that are working on bringing that value, for they may have something that could increase your value, but you may ignore them because you don't perceive them as bringing you value when they are trying to, but they're not up to your standards. So keep your standards in check, but also make sure you do thorough research on anybody who's trying to bring it in. Tame the beast of that through like background checks. The star here is all about like meditation or taking things a little bit easy from this deck. Manifesting that life force you have by giving yourself that naked, emotional free, break. No, don't let it get to you. Being on the Prince of Pentacles here, emotionally concerned about your wealth or what you're worth and how you appear to be worth, emotionally keeping that in check with the star and giving yourself a break from it a little bit. Epic spiritual, intellectual, social, physical, and emotional aspects of the self for Leo in July of 2020. For spiritual self, we have the Hermit. For intellectual self, we have the Ace of Swords. For physical self, we have the Two of Chalices. For social self, we have the Dragon of Chalices. For emotional self, we have the Nine of Swords. This Hermit here is all about asking nature and spirit to fill your bowl. And since you've got the World and then Eight of Cups here, this is introspection of obtaining the message from the world, not like people or humanity, but the world like Mother Nature or that higher self. And then this is what you're spiritually confronting in July, is that get that hermit self going and get that world aspect into your life that we were talking about with naked, inner self, getting obtaining that peaceful inner peace that you're looking for. The Ace of Swords from this deck is that it cuts two ways. Be careful. You might end up cutting yourself here. Swords are words, and you could be, getting yourself in trouble or saying the wrong thing, or you can say the right thing and just be careful. And then with the Four of Cups here, getting the answers from your heart, and your heart's hurting, and that's what you're kind of concerned about here with the Seven of Cups, and kind of feeling a little pressured or being put on your knees. This is the intellectual self, so this is what you've been thinking about. So just be careful with your thoughts and keep them in check. The Two of Chalices from this deck is nourishment. It's a couple getting nourishment from each other, or having a good time, sitting there and having a good moment. And with the Page of Cups, keeping your perceptions in check on what you think is strong or not. And the King of Pentacles, remember, this is all physical stuff, so you've got to maybe take a chance on seeing somebody who's not necessarily looking bad, like a bum or anything, but maybe somebody you would think, oh, I don't necessarily agree with her taste in clothing or his clothing, but maybe they would give you a chance to influence what they wear. But this is the physical self. Maybe this has to just do with you, and maybe wearing or doing something different with your physical appearance, and just giving yourself that nourishment to be like, hey, let me go ahead and try some other clothes I normally wouldn't try, that aren't so bad, they're not ugly, or anything else that may have to do with physical working out, or giving a certain maybe yoga or something, whatever it is that has to do with physical stuff, another try to keep you in that satisfaction with your worth and your value of physical appearance. The Dragon of Chalices here is taking responsibility for what you know and acting on it accordingly. And this has to do with social aspects. So this reinforces the Ace of Pentacles, what you tend to usually have with it, only allowing people in your inner circle that bring value to the table, which is okay. But with the Strength, you gotta tame the beast right within, and don't get too arrogant on that. And they're like, oh, you're not good enough, you're fired, or whatever. Getting a bad attitude possibly with that aspect of social self. The Nine of Swords from this deck is like a Chinese finger trap. The more you pull, the harder it is to get out of, right? So it's kind of like the sword isn't for this task in the emotional self, or maybe the words aren't quite adequate enough for your emotional self. With the Star, remember, you're taking a break from it, just doing things that would give your heart a break, or your emotions a break, so you're not so roller coaster of emotions. With the Prince of Pentacles here, and the Bull in a china closet, right? And things always breaking or causing you more disturbance than it's worth. So just be careful that maybe words aren't what you need right now. Maybe it's just going out and having a day of hiking by yourself, or enjoying nature maybe, or just getting a break from the emotions that you've been dealing with. Foxfire, the Kitsune, what message do you have for Leo in July of 2020? Rituals and offerings. There's a time to work alone and a time to join and raise power with others. This is that time, dear one. It is time to make a pilgrimage with like-minded others to a sacred place with a goal. This place could be near or far, but it must be to a place which holds the enchantments of the in-between. You must step beyond the everyday and become part of the powers of the other world for a time, in order to bring more of that magic through to the everyday world in which you reside. When you do this, be it alone or with others, you will be returning the light to the world, reminding others of the power of hope, and restoring a sense of the sacred to your own self. It is time to bring the light back to the world and to offer it up for others to make use of, however they wish. It is time for you to undertake this pilgrimage and to step away from the structure of the everyday, from all the things that seem to define us, and become what defines us, what makes us closer again to our true spirit. Light a candle, go to a temple, visit a grove, a sacred pool, a quiet place where the divine whispers through the trees. And with grace, humility, and awareness, make your offerings to the great spirits all about us. When you do this, the borders and the barriers between the world of magic and the ordinary world will thin until they vanish. And in one beautiful expanse of time, all will be one. All will be beautiful, and all will be as it truly is. Once again, let there be listening and reverence and quietness in your footsteps. Let your sense of self fall away, and let the other world speak to you, so that you become one again, part of the light of the world, and ease the suffering of all those who have fallen into the traps of lost hope, denial of spirit, and forgotten wisdom. Bring it back, bright soul, with the simple ritual you now will make. And when you do this, the Kusuni will be with you, invisible as air, as present as the scent of flowers, as real as the blessed earth herself. Which power animal has a message for Leo in July of 2020? Raccoon. You have all the resources you need. Resourcefulness. Everything you need is right in front of you if you only look. There's no need to be fussing about this and that, creating drama and turmoil, worrying about whether you have enough the next hour, the next day, or the next week. Whatever you need will be there. You might have to forage a little, but it will. Trust that. There's nothing to fret or worry about. Not really. Use your brain and your intuition in partnership to not only help you solve the problem, but actually solve the problem. At first, it may not be obvious where to look. That's why you have to poke around a bit until you turn up what you need for this or any other situation. Sometimes when you follow your hunch and look under the couch for your lost wallet, you'll find the wallet. And don't get tweaked if all the steps you don't take lead to an immediate solution. Don't proceed blindly or out of anxiety or fear. It's impossible to hear your intuition or your brain when you're jumping around randomly. So relax. Trust that what you need will turn up. Additional associations: stealth, ingenuity, cleverness, dexterity. Keepers of the Light, who has a message for Leo in July of 2020? Odin. Psychic insight. Your third eye is open. See the truth for what it is. Follow your intuition. Odin is the Norse all-father god who is revered to the present day. He is a powerful, all-seeing, all-knowing god. His twin flame is Freya, and like her, he has a raven totem. The story goes that he surrendered one of his eyes at a mystical spring called Mimir, so that he could gain the wisdom of the ages. He is a strong but somewhat wild character who helps us reawaken our natural psychic instincts and open our third eye so we can look beyond the physical senses and into the spiritual realms. He also helps us recognize that it's okay to have insights into what's happening next. After all, we are the creators of our path. Odin guards the runic alphabet too, and works closely with signs, symbols, and omens. You are being encouraged to look beyond what your physical eyes are showing you. Look within and follow your intuition or psychic visions. You may want to plan ahead at this time. It's important to keep your mind and energy focused on the best possible outcome. There will be signs and symbols from the light to tell you that you are on the right path. Be aware of winged beings gracing your path as a wink from Odin, and let the light keepers just say that they are honoring your work. Sacred power for Leo in July of 2020. Self-love. Be courageous. Listen to your own advice. Your inner child is an aspect of the self, reminiscent of all that you have learned and experienced. Free, spontaneous, creative, and full of wonder. Your inner child longs to be in the state of joy, but also requires nurturing, attention, and constant reassurance. Your inner child feels these extremes of emotions because they lack understanding of why particular circumstances have occurred. You can shift long-standing emotional patterns by working with your inner self, resolve problems, trauma, and issues that you have found challenging and difficult to address. While you may have grown up quickly or had a limited childhood absent of opportunities and experiences, the inner child is an aspect of you that requires love and attention even as an adult. Emotions are powerful like children. Adults manipulate, rebel, throw tantrums, and can also put on a brave face for the sake of others. To create a symbolic relationship, you, the parent, and your inner child must work in agreement of security, safety, acceptance, and surety. Acknowledging that you have been wounded is the first step in shifting your mindset. Self-love is essential right now as there is a child within you needing parental help and advice. Grieving for the past or circumstances that we did not understand at the time, no matter how old you were, is now necessary. Helplessness, confusion, or feeling overwhelmed can trigger childlike behavior such as tantrums, manipulation, and rebellion in an attempt to get what you want. Take the time to be playful and curious, be courageous, and learn the power of no. It shall shield you from pushy people seeking to compromise your values and integrity. If you were to see the little you now, what sage advice would you give, knowing that what you know today? Affirmation. I nurture the child within me. I am complete, whole, and secure. I am safe. Divine Circus Oracle message for Leo in July of 2020. Supernova. Something in you needs to be unleashed. This is not quiet and steady growth, but more like a wild explosion of creative energy and sacred fire. The sparks your rapid growth will create shall ignite your body, mind, and soul, inspiring you to expand even beyond what you believe is possible. Your light will shine far and wide. You cannot control it, but you can trust it. A rocket is capable of traveling far and with great power and speed before settling into an effortless orbit far beyond the world in which it began its journey. To launch, however, requires power. A quiet and a contained power is not appropriate for the task. A raw and explosive force is needed to propel a rocket from the unknown world of Earth towards its destined orbit in space. The oracle of supernova indicates a time of rapid growth, so accelerated and powerful that it can feel like an explosion, as if you were the rocket being launched into space. It tends to be of high intensity but short duration. Whilst this is a positive thing, it can cause shock waves and disrupting patterns and create feelings of instability and even uncertainty as your world starts to change in ways you don't feel are within your personal control. You may feel like there is a powerful momentum moving you out of what your life has been towards some new unknown destiny. As it moves from the dramatic force of the launch towards the eventual peace and an effortless orbit, the rocket will jettison the very thing needed to get the journey started. This isn't about disappointing of the essentials, but people and things that really mean something to your heart, but rather about letting go of old attitudes, ideas, ways of being, and attachments, to allow for utter freedom to ascend. After the intensity of the birth, the effortlessness of your orbit into a new world will require a different attitude. What you need to begin your journey to start a new venture or lifestyle will be different to what is required to continue on your life journey. You need to trust in what is happening at all points on your journey. Don't hold on to a support system, belief system, or way of being out of fear. Sometimes it's just time to let it go because it's not relevant for your journey anymore. If you try to hold on, you will actually just be holding yourself back. When the time comes to let go, you'll feel it. People or situations will not be able to reach you or you them, even if you are making an effort to try and stay connected. Previous support systems and connections won't be able to support you anymore on the next steps of your journey. It's like they are training wheels and they are no longer needed. They would just get in the way. So you have gratitude for what was, and with love you let it go. The Oracle Supernova reminds you that after the intensity of the birth, there is another birth of sorts, the settling into a new pattern of life at a higher altitude, with more peace, effortlessness, and consciousness. Each phase happens naturally, and you'll feel when and how to respond to each phase in your life as you trust yourself. Wisdom of the Oracle, what message do we have for Leo in July of 2020? Observer. Perspective, objectivity, neutral observation from a distance. Most people see the world through a personal lens. They closely identify with their feelings and experiences, so much so that they come to believe that these are the only reality. There are times when you need to distance in order to gain perspective and understand your circumstances from a more neutral vantage point. Now is one of those times in your life. This is a perfect moment for you to begin to do some exploring. Instead of only considering yourself, consider what you need to understand about the conditions, people, culture, and environment you're engaged with now. You'll be so happy you did. Illumination is the miracle you seek and will indeed find. Relationship message. Sometimes you just can't see the forest for the trees in your way. Feelings can get all jumbled up, and often you hear one thing when a person says another. It can be like an echo of an unresolved past experience dubbed over your conservation. Take time out before you react. It's likely the other person has no idea how his or her words have affected you. Take a few steps back and lend understanding to the situation. Have faith in your connection and trust that you can come together. Take to higher ground now and cultivate curiosity about what you observe in yourself, in others, and in the landscape. You will find things much improved sooner than you know. Prosperity message. It is an advantageous time for you to get some distance from what you're doing and see your work and your projects from a different perspective. The trick is to connect to the essence of your goals and aspirations while letting the form and timing be dictated by spirit. You may be too personally attached to an outcome and unable to see the miracle because it's not turning out exactly as you planned. Trust spirit. The perfect version of your abundance is right in front of you. Remain neutral and curious, and watch the miracle unfold. Protection message. Ever think sometimes your life options are suction cup to your face and you can't see beyond yourself? There's a big world out there, a multitude of potential realities that you're unable to perceive at present. So you're a little stuck. It's time to get advice from someone you trust, someone who has a better perspective on your circumstances. Other points of view are needed now before you move forward. Take heart. A beautiful vista is waiting for you to drink it in. You just need a little help widening your scope beyond your small self. Cosmic self message for Leo in July of 2020. Shine. Shine, for you not only light your path, but the path of others around you. If you have selected this card, Spirit encourages you to shine your externally radiant light. You have traveled a long road full of experiences that consisted of reservations and uncertainty of self. Now you find yourself inspired, motivated, and ignited with a sense of purpose and passion. Limitations of the mind that once kept you bound have been released, and you are now ready to take that next step. It is time, dear one, to follow your heart's true calling and sing your unique song. Spirit thanks you for having the courage to step away from the crowd despite the caution of the mind. The more you build on your creative passion, the brighter your light will shine. Not only will your surroundings transform to reflect your increasing vibration, but many around you will be inspired by your achievements and personal growth. Just by following your heart and doing what you love best, you will assist humanity in raising its planetary light. Some may become envious of your accomplishments and success, but don't feel obliged to turn your lights low to appease the discontent in them. Keep shining, for soon they too will be inspired by your luminous glow. A strong current is propelling you forward in a positive direction, steered by the heart. A path that is driven by the heart is a soul that is limitless and fruitful. Have fun during this wonderful time and express your beautiful soul for the world to see. You deserve it. Prayer. Great Spirit, I thank you for the clarity, insight, and direction I have in my life. I am grateful for this wonderful opportunity to share my unique light with the world. Associated chakra, sacral. Isis, what message do you have for Leo in July of 2020? Cartouche. Divine names of power. Lady Isis initiates you now into her special mysteries. The use of sacred intonations. The words that you speak are rapidly gaining power. To benefit from this power rather than be undermined or held back by it, practice thoughtful speech and clear your heart of old unforgiveness, which can poison your words unintentionally. As your heart grows in purity, you will be able to speak with spiritual authority, and what you speak of will come into being more swiftly and obviously. Isis is initiating you as a master healer in her sacred tradition of divine names of power. You are being initiated into the divine healing tradition of Isis herself. Isis works through divine names of power. These are sacred words of strength, magic, and power to create healing from a place of compassion and devotion to love. She honors that which is worthy of protection and uses endless determination, combined with her skill of speaking words of power, to cause life to thrive, and that which is not worthy of cultivation, which would not serve life, to dissipate and decline. Divine names of power are the mantras, sounds, and names of the divine in all traditions. Isis will bring you her name to begin, offered to you as a sacred gift to be worked with as a mantra of protection, of feminine grace and divinity and healing. You can use her name as she instructs you to do so in the ritual below. A word, phrase, or mantra that is given through initiation is like a light bulb that has been plugged into a lamp. The initiation switches the power on, and the use of the word by the initiate is like the lamp shining its light. If you have been interested in using your voice in some way, for writing, singing, healing, speaking, or becoming a spokesperson for a particular cause that resonates with your heart, this oracle of the cartouche brings guidance that Lady Isis honors your desire, encourages you to explore, and shall protect your process. If you have drawn this oracle of the cartouche along with the oracle of the ancient power mysteries, you are guided to more seriously explore sound, healing, and mantra as a part of your own path, and if you are a healer, you are strongly encouraged to explore these healing arts as a way to unfold your own spiritual talents and perhaps incorporate these techniques into your healing practice in a way that feels true for you. The Oracle of the Cartouche reminds you that invoking the power of speech and word for your strength, protection, and spiritual growth will work effectively for you. Sometimes thinking and saying no is the most powerful word you can say to honor personal choice and create a safe boundary for yourself. Sometimes affirming in thought and speech. I choose to see the divine within this person, place, or situation is another way to cut through drama and use the power of word in thought and spoken expression to create powerful healing. Choose to use your words with wisdom and pure intention, keeping in mind that with more power comes more karmic responsibility, and therefore always surrendering to the greater good and unconditional love is a good idea. With this approach, your gift will grow strong in its effect. Intentional and unintentional will be as spiritually clean and helpful as possible. You will become a greater force of love, peace, and power on this planet. The Oracle of the cartouche also suggests that you discern the effect upon you of the company you are keeping energetically and physically. Sometimes the thoughts and words of others, their vibration, can enhance you or leave you feeling depleted or drained. If you are drawn into negative speaking in order to bond or fit in with others, you're asked if it is worth it for the effect it has on your own vibration. You can use words of power to cleanse any cords or contracts that would lower your vibration into a fearful place in order to come back to love, to help you stay true to yourself and perhaps even inspire others to think or speak more positively when they are around you, not from a position of judgment of another's choices, but from a position of wisdom, realizing the effects of such choices. Starseed Oracle, what message do you have for Leo in July of 2020? The Golden Children. Inner child, tenderness, innocence, rare gifts. Golden children are highly advanced, extremely intelligent souls who are incarnating increasingly on planet Earth. They have little or no personal karma and possess incredible gifts and intuitive abilities. Golden children are born with a very clear mission. Many remember it from a young age and begin answering and sharing it early in life. Due to their unique intelligence, they may find themselves easily bored at school. Most have never incarnated on Earth before, and so, if they are not supported in the right ways, they struggle with physical life here. Are often referred to as the new humans. If you pull this card, it may be a sign that you're being called to mother, father, or nurture a child. You may be called to tend to your own inner child, a creative idea or project, or a new beginning. To treat yourself or the new beginning with sweet, tender love, to nurture and nourish it, to give it every chance to grow and reach adulthood, to encourage it, to water it, to see the world through the innocence of a child, to see yourself and all others as innocent children, to remember that deep down everyone is trying their best, and if they're treated with a tender heart, they're not hardened as they journey through this great adventure called life. Starseed Soul Inquiry. How can you treat yourself more tenderly? And that's your reading, Leo. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. You know the drill. Click the email. Go to the link below. Become a Patreon. See you next month.